You definitely get to, determine and pick, how you want to come out of a situation. Sure, there's plenty of situations that we probably weren't in, by choice, but we definitely can determine how we want to come out of them and how we want to change that for the rest of our life. For a long time, I wanted to be a father. I never understood that. It was very funny when I was in college. A couple of my friends were like, "Hey, like, you sure this is something you want to do? You sure this is a path you want to go down? Like, there's a lot more to it than what meets the eye." And I mean, I looked at them like they were insane for even asking me such a question. But it wasn't until I went and pursued fatherhood, I guess you could say in my immaturity. I had a kid early on. When I went and pursued fatherhood, that's when I understood and that's when I realized that, hey, this is what they were talking about. It is definitely more difficult, than what meets the eye. So, what made me want to become one so early on is a sense of family. I know it sounds very vague, but to have a sense of family was something that was very important to me. It was something that I cherished. It was something that I felt um, made a good stance, or it gave me a good qualification, if you will, to have a family, something to come home to, if you will. And this is my younger boy inside of me talking, because this was during that time, when I was, considering becoming a father and wanting to become a father. But the thing that I love about it now and being a father and having been a father for 7 years plus now, so it's having the ability to instill what I know and what I've learned, and to instill knowledge and wisdom in my children, and to be able to see them grow because of that. Because of that wisdom and because of that knowledge that was instilled in them, so I definitely I cherish that. There's I used to tell people a lot of times, there's very few things that you can offend me on, but if you come towards my fatherhood, that's something that I hold very dear and close to me. That's something that might make the Christian come out of me and make something else go into me. But no, yeah, I definitely, like I say, yeah, I hold that dear to me. It is something that I do find valuable. And the reason why is because growing up, I was able to see other families and other children who didn't have a father in the home. And, I didn't have my father in the home, but a lot of people would say, how did that make you feel? And honestly, and I was very young, like I talked about it in another video. My father passed away when I was in grade school, and but I don't know. I actually feel like he was there. Even though I know and I can calculate the days and remember the times that he wasn't present, like he wasn't physically there in the home, but for whatever reason, I felt like he was always there. And why? And I felt like because when I needed him, he was there. I never had to go and search for him. We weren't playing this game of hide and seek. We weren't playing this game of hide and seek like most fathers and their children are these days. But I definitely felt like he was there when I needed him. But at a very young age, I had already understood the reality of a child coming up in what is considered a broken home where mother and father are not together. From a young age, I understood that, and I understood what that meant, and I understood what it looked like, and I also understood the sacrifices that I was going to have to make, but also the sacrifices that mom and dad were going to have to make as well, because nowhere in my heart did I believe that my father was just living his best life and he couldn't dream of a better life without being around his children 24/7. So since I didn't believe that, it didn't really matter, how many times he was there physically, because I definitely knew that I always had him whenever I needed him, while he was alive. So yeah, I would say the best part about my fatherhood is to be able to see life that I've created and watch the personalities grow and be able to instill things into those personalities, so that way character is built and I get to see that, and you're like, wow, this is my kid, like this is my seed here. And I did that, and for the betterment of them, or whatever the case may be, I'm fully responsible of the success of this child, of the outcoming and the upbringing of this child. I'm fully responsible for that. And that's something that I definitely like, because you're able to see uh, your part of the world, a part of the world that you've created, and you're able to see that life. And like I said, with me instilling knowledge into my children, I'm able to see them as they get older. I'm able to see that growth, and it's like, wow, you're connected to a person. Essentially, you've created, yes, but you're connected to them because you start to see the value in them because of the value that you've instilled in them as they were growing up. Like I said, for when I was a little boy, I had already the understanding, of what it was going to look, feel, sound, be like, to grow up in a home that's considered broken. Like I said, where mom and dad are not together in the home raising the kids. But yeah, since I already understood that, that meant that since I understood the disadvantages that might, come my way, or since I understood, like I said, the circumstance and all the sacrifices that you'd have to take, I understood. I also had to understand the beauty in it, So since I knew what I was going without, I also knew that there were children that were going with these things, and being able to see the benefit of them, And I can say, my upbringing has brought me to have a certain thought process that when I went to college and you're surrounded by people from all over the world, and I met, some really good friends in college, and I had good roommates, and you're able to see them, and it's like, okay, your upbringing was completely different than mine, and because of that, I can tell, because your response to a situation, or your response to a question, or your engagement in in a conversation, with a certain topic, it's completely different than mine. That's because we have different outlooks, and that's because we've had to look at life through different angles and operate through them differently. But the thing that I like about that is that although we had different outcomes, we still found ourselves in the same place, which was, post high school and in furthered education, going for degrees in college. So I don't like to use it as a crutch. And that's why I say I understand the reality, and I know the world calls them disadvantages and things like that. And sure, I may have been at a disadvantage, but I'm not a disadvantaged person. So you definitely get to, determine and pick, how you want to come out of a situation. Sure, there's plenty of situations that we probably weren't in, by choice, but we definitely can determine how we want to come out of them and how we want to change that for the rest of our life. And that is really what was important to me, to be married and to have a family, because I believed that I was okay with what I was getting, but I knew that there was a little more that could have been given. And I knew that there were certain different things that could have happened, and we could have changed a few different things here. That way, I could have had a different outcome in certain areas. So, with knowing that, it became very important to me that I want to be able to provide this for a child. I want to be able to provide what I knew that I needed, and to that child. And I also wanted to give them kind of the full, like, perspective, like everything, like the whole cake, not just half, but the whole cake. So that way they could really understand and feel what that was like. Like I said, is growing up, I was able to witness that with other people, and I saw that how sometimes that was a crutch. And that's why I find that my upbringing wasn't a disadvantage, but it did teach me something, because I chose to let it teach me something. And it taught me that, yes, sure, I got what I got, and I received what I received. And I can, with like I said, with the understanding that I had about the disadvantage, if you will, that I might have had because of that situation, I also understand the advantages of having what I did not have, if that makes sense. So I want to not only provide that to my children and to my family and my wife as well, I want to be able to provide that to them, but I also want them to know that there is people out there that aren't necessarily getting this, because I don't want this to become a crutch where you think that this is how the world is. One of my really good friends in college, still a good friend of mine to this day, in the family, and I love he's like family to me, and his family has been like family to me in more ways than one. So it he had an understanding, like he understood that, his reality and his life, and mom and dad in the home and father instilling things in him, and mother there nurturing and caring and loving. He understood that that wasn't the normal, especially growing up in the Inland Empire. He knew that that wasn't the norm. Like, if he looked in his neighborhood, he knew that 9 times out of 10, I'll knock on a door and that house would be broken more than it would be together with two parents and the kids in the home together. And that's a sad reality, but he understood that, which is why it made him able to understand my situation. So he was able to coach, he was able to help, he was able to teach, he was able to instill some knowledge in me along with his family, because they weren't, you know oblivious to the fact that this what we're having is a blessing and it is a treasure, and not a lot of families, not a lot of children get to say that they have that. So it was awesome. Yeah, I don't want to go on too much, but it's just an awesome thing, and because of that, I definitely want to be able to provide that to my children, and that's been a big mission for me. That's why I love, people always say, oh, you're gonna miss the baby ages. I'm like, no, I can't wait for my children to become older, because I definitely want to see my reflection in them, and see everything that I've instilled in them and taught them, and see what that brings to their life, and see them as, the blossoming flowers that they've grown to be. Well, I'm not going to answer all of it because I've kind of answered it in the other questions, and I don't want to rebuttal. But there is one thing in there that my childhood definitely affected, was manhood. I know a lot of people would say, well, how could your um, manhood be, as strong as it is if you didn't have your father physically in the home? Although I definitely believe that there is a strong, vital importance for the father to be in the home with his children. But it's also just as, beneficial if there's other people in that boy's life, in that child's life, to instill those same principles like a father would. And for me, I definitely believe I had that. I had older brothers. I'm the youngest of a lot, so I had older brothers that I was able to go to if I needed to, and they had a different path than me. They had a different path than me, but like I said, I didn't see it as a disadvantage, and I never looked down on my brothers, but rather I knew that they could teach me something that I did not know. And sometimes we put ourselves in positions where we see someone who's different than us, or we see someone operating different than us, and we think that they're wrong, or they're unqualified, or I can't get down with them, or I can't get down with that. But if you're different than me and you operate different than me, and or believe something that I don't know and or believe, so I'm interested to know. I'm a strong believer in, you don't know what you don't know, and believing in that fact is what keeps me striving to educate myself more and more and more and more. What I know 2 weeks ago, it 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 doesn't do much value for me if my learning stopped there. If I don't know anything else and I didn't take the time to learn anything else, it wouldn't really do much value for me. So yeah, I like to keep pushing forward in that. But my manhood, like I said, I had very strong men in my life, that I was able to go to. Teachers, you never really, people underestimate the impact on a grade school teacher on a child's life. I had strong teachers, in my life that, also influenced me, and saw that need there. There was a lot of people that saw that need, and I thank God for that, because I definitely believe that He put, me in front of the right people, in front of the right places at the right time. And when people saw a need there, they definitely cautiously and lovingly filled that. And I'm definitely thankful, for all of those people for that. So what it did was, is it just taught me that, as a man, I just have to set an example, and it has strengthened that, because I know the pour out and the love and the dedication that people gave to me, in my life, like I said, when there was that need there. So it definitely has strived and pushed me to want to become that as well, if not better. So that way, as my kids get older, there may still be that need with my kids' friends and things of that nature. And my wife and I talk about it all the time. We are actually excited and just can't wait to be able to open our doors to a child who might not be getting the whole cake in their home, and it might be missing something, or might just have a little need. there, definitely being the people to be able to provide that. So it's definitely strengthening that manhood because I understand the importance and the value of the wisdom that a man has, and how powerful it can be once it's instilled inside generations and generations to come. So back to what I was talking about my good friend in college, who's still a good friend of mine today, and he his family, his family as well. Like I said, they're like family to me, and those people right there, they have done a tremendous job with their children. And for me to feel and like I've been a part of that, like, see, they didn't raise me since I was, in diapers or anything like that, but they raised me when I was still in diapers up here. You see what I'm saying? See, I wasn't in diapers physically, if you will. I didn't have any pull ups on. But up here, I was still in diapers. There were some things that I still needed to know. Like I said, there was a need there, and they came in so swiftly and they took care of me, and I'm truly grateful for that. And I have to go to the head. I have to go to the head, and none other than the father there, Andamo Tolson. He taught me everything that I needed to know, for my adult life. As a man, my thought process, the way that I attack life, the way that I learn from my lessons, my viewpoints on things, it was just very inspiring. I've never been, you know, I've never been whooped without being whooped, and that's definitely, what happened there. That's definitely what took place. I remember there was a time when I was in college, and it was beautiful. I was living there. Believe that I was living there, rent free. You know what I mean? Look, I'm telling y'all, rent free, and but your only way through was your education, your good grades. That was essentially your rent. Once them grades start slipping a little bit low, you might get that 30-day notice. Once you start getting on that B minus, you start getting C. Now you're average. You might get that 60-day notice and a pink slip on the bedroom door. But I remember there was one time, it was like, hey, let us know your grades, let us know what's going on. Boom, I put my grades on the fridge there. And like I said, that's most people will say, like, oh, you were over 18. Like, what are you doing reporting your report card to that? Like I said, sure, I was not in diapers physically, but up here I was. And since I'm in diapers up here, you have to behave like a child would, and you've got to report those grades. I have to make sure you're on track because I don't know yet. You haven't proven to me just yet that I can trust you to just go off on your own and know you're going to get the job done at the standard that we've set for you here. So I remember there was one time, I'm just sitting upstairs and I'm watching TV and I'm just kicking back comfortable on the couch. He comes up and lets me know, how's everything going with school. And I told him, I said, I'm gonna be honest, one of these grades I think I had a D or something in it. All I had to say was that I had a D. And the thing is, I can't remember to this day. I can't remember to this day word for word what he said to me, but to this day, all I know from that was that that was completely unacceptable. Like, unacceptable isn't even a good enough word to describe how unacceptable my behavior was. Notice that. See, it wasn't like because it went that far. Like, it wasn't just a grade. No, 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 no. This D is turning into behavior. And then once this behavior continues on, it's going to become your character. See, it was that type of conversation, just getting lashed and lashed, but you're not getting, I'm not physically hurt. I got no bruises, I got no scars, but it was his furthered education that could help me further mine. As simple as that. It was the iron sharpening the potential iron there. And I'm definitely appreciative of that. And like I said, I cannot thank enough. Like they say in the old church saying, if I had a thousand tongues, you couldn't thank him enough. Well, if I had a thousand tongues, I don't think I could thank, Andama Tosin enough, and definitely just the Tosin family in general. Walking into my good friend Rico's life, and just what that family did is a blessing. He was just a college roommate my freshman year, man. That's it. We met because we happened to come to the same college and we were placed in the same dorm room, and that relationship just took me further than just a freshman college dorm mate. And I'm definitely appreciative of that. In my 27 years of life, there's just a few things. Like I know you asked for 7, but one of my things is going to explain why I'm just not going to give 7, and I'll start off with that one. And it's just being that life is not that complicated. So don't complicate it. People are usually looking for a long list of things that if I apply all these things, then I'll be successful and I'll be this and I'll be that. The world is essentially your oyster. Even when people are like, "Oh, I work this 9 to 5 job. I don't have time." That's your choice. Oh, well, I have all these bills. That was your choice to get all those liabilities. But I'm getting on a different, further topic here. I've been reading a lot, so I'm understanding the importance of liabilities and assets. So I'll move that to number 2. Understand the importance of liabilities and assets. Like honestly, and learn that very, very, very fast. I started reading a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, by Robert. I believe his last name is Kiyosaki. I hope I'm saying that right, but I know his first name is Robert. Great name. But I started reading that book, which my friend Rico, my freshman dorm mate, he had knowledge about that book when I met him as a freshman in college, and he would always tell me about the importance of reading. And as an English major, can you believe this? As an English major, I would always say, I hate reading. I don't like reading. I don't want to read. Reading is pointless. Show me the movie. But it wasn't until now, what, we are 4 or 5 years, away from college now, that I started reading that book, and it really has changed my mindset. Just as a man, and if you want to lead your family, I definitely say, number one, life's not that complicated. Just understand the difference between liabilities and assets, and that's going to help you a lot in life as you're leading your family or as you're leading yourself, just developing as a man, as an individual. Understand that. Number 3, I want to say patience. A patient man is a very strong man. You're going to need patience. One day you're going to have a wife. One day you're going to have children. One day you're going to have a business, a corporation, whatever the case may be. But patience is definitely necessary. And that's going to take me just to my last one for you guys, and that's humility. Be humble at all cost. Like I said, it's not good to write people off, and it's not good to judge people based off of what we can see on their situation. If there's a need there and you have the ability to fill it, fill it. Be a leader. Don't wait for someone to lead. Just be a leader. You're a man. Be a leader. Lead. Your legacy, whatever the case may be, what you build, what you have, it's all on you. And the people, if you have a family and you get married, those people that are behind you, following you as their leader, they are depending on you for everything that they need in life, both educational, physical, spiritual, whatever the case may be. They're dependent on you. So yeah, keep those things in mind, and apply, those tactics. Apply those and let that be your character. Let it be so that you're a patient man. Let it be so that you're a humble man, and let it be show that you're a financial literate man, that you understand the difference between liabilities and assets and how to build that asset column. But yeah, shout out to Robert Kiyosaki, and shout out to Rico Tolson and the Tolsons. Definitely thank you guys right there. I wanted to give you the direct on camera shot there. I know I'm not supposed to look at the camera for this shoot, but I'm doing it anyways. It's my podcast. But yeah, so definitely thankful for you guys. Also thankful for everyone tuning into this one. Definitely appreciate it from you guys. Consider subscribing if you're not a subscriber already. I'm dropping videos every week here, all throughout the week. You want to hit the subscription button so you do not miss a minute of any of them. Give me a thumbs up if any of this spoke to you, if you liked it, if it's just enjoyable content. That way I know to keep producing things like this. I definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys once again. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye for now.